The sun in Jamaica has a special kind of warmth, you know? It doesn't just heat your skin, it seeps right into your bones, carrying the scent of salt and hibiscus. I remember those days like they were yesterday, especially the ones spent with my grandpa Lester Mitchell. He was a man carved from the island itself, with skin the color of rich earth and eyes that held the wisdom of the sea. One morning, the air was thick with the promise of a perfect beach day. The sky was a brilliant cloudless blue, and the roosters were crowing their hearts out. Grandpa Lester poked his head into my room, his smile crinkling the corners of his eyes. "Lisa, my little mongoose," he said, his voice a low, gentle rumble. "The sea is calling our names. You hear it?" I could. It was a distant, rhythmic shush, a lullaby the island sang just for us. Mama packed us a feast, jerk chicken still warm from the grill, sweet festival dumplings, and a big jug of sorrel drink, ruby red and tangy. We piled into Grandpa's old pickup truck, the one that rattled and groaned like an old man getting out of a comfortable chair. The drive to the coast was an adventure in itself. We rumbled past fields of sugar cane swaying like tall dancers in the breeze, and little towns painted in every color you could imagine: mango orange, lime green, sky blue. Grandpa would point out different things, telling me the names of birds I'd never seen before, their songs weaving through the reggae music playing softly on the radio. We arrived at a hidden cove Grandpa called Secret Bay. It wasn't like the tourist beaches. Here, the sand was fine and pale, almost like sugar, and the water was a mesmerizing turquoise. Gnarled sea grape trees provided shade, their leaves like big, leathery hands. We were the only two people there, besides the pelicans diving for their lunch. I ran straight for the water, laughing as the cool waves tickled my toes. Grandpa followed slowly, setting up our spot under the biggest tree. "Easy now, little mongoose," he chuckled. "The sea isn't going anywhere." After a swim and a belly full of Mama's good food, I lay on the blanket, feeling sleepy in the afternoon heat. Grandpa was sitting beside me, carving a small piece of driftwood with his old pocket knife. He wasn't making anything in particular, just letting the wood tell him what it wanted to be. "Grandpa," I asked, "are there any monsters in the sea?" He paused his carving and looked out at the water, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Monsters? No, child, not monsters. But there are old ones, the keepers of stories." His voice dropped, becoming a little more serious, a little more mysterious. "There are beings who have seen more sunrises than you or I could ever count. We must always show them respect." I didn't quite understand, but I loved when Grandpa talked like this. It felt like he was sharing a secret part of the world with me. As the sun began to dip lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Grandpa suggested a walk. "Come," he said, taking my hand. "I want to show you something." We walked away from the open beach, heading towards a place where a small, slow-moving river snaked its way through a thicket of mangrove trees to meet the sea. The air here was different still and heavy, smelling of damp earth and salt. The light was dim under the tangled canopy of roots and leaves. It was a little spooky, but with Grandpa's hand in mine, I wasn't afraid. He led me to the riverbank and pointed. At first, I saw nothing but a long, dark shape lying half-submerged near the opposite bank. It looked like a fallen log, covered in moss and mud. I squinted, and then the log blinked. A single, ancient, golden eye opened, regarded us for a moment, and then slowly closed. My heart did a little flip-flop in my chest. It wasn't a log at all. It was a crocodile, and it was huge. Its skin was a mosaic of greens and browns, ridged and gnarled like the bark of an ancient tree. It was so still it seemed a part of the landscape itself. I gasped and tugged on Grandpa's hand, ready to run. But he stood firm, his grip gentle but reassuring. "Shh, Lisa," he whispered. "Don't be afraid. Just watch." "This is Old Man Joe." My eyes widened. He knew its name. He has lived in this river longer than I have been alive, Grandpa continued, his voice full of reverence. Longer than my own father was alive. He is the king of this little kingdom. We stood there in silence for what felt like an eternity, just watching. The crocodile didn't move a muscle. It was as if he was dreaming, lost in a slumber that spanned decades. There was no menace in his stillness, only a profound sense of peace and age. It was like looking at a living mountain. He sees us, Grandpa murmured. He knows we are here. But he also knows we mean him no harm. We are just visitors in his home. Grandpa then did something that amazed me. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small piece of dried fish we desaved from lunch. He tossed it gently and it landed on the muddy bank a few feet from the crocodile's immense snout. Old Man Joe didn't react immediately. The world remained still. Then, with a movement so slow it was barely perceptible, his massive jaw opened. He shifted his weight, a quiet ripple in the water, and scooped up the offering with a soft snap. And then he was still again, a silent statue in the fading light. It is a sign of respect, Grandpa explained softly. An offering. We don't own this land, Lisa. We share it. With the birds, the fish, and with old ones like Joe. When you respect nature, it respects you back. In that moment, standing by the quiet river, I understood what he meant. Old Man Joe wasn't a monster. He was a neighbor. A very old, very quiet, and very powerful neighbor. He was a part of Jamaica, just like the sun, the sea, and my grandpa. As dusk settled, turning the world to shades of purple and gray, we walked back to the truck. The fireflies were starting to blink on and off in the bush like tiny, scattered stars. I looked back one last time towards the mangrove river, but Old Man Joe had vanished back into the shadows and the water, becoming a secret once more. On the ride home, I was quiet thinking about the ancient crocodile. The world felt bigger and more magical than it had that morning. I leaned my head against the cool glass of the window, watching the dark shapes of the trees fly by. Grandpa reached over and patted my knee. You see, little mongoose, he said, his voice warm and comforting in the dark cab of the truck. The world is full of wonders if you only know how to look, and how to be quiet enough to see them. I never forgot that day at Secret Bay. It changed the way I saw the world. It taught me that strength isn't always loud and that the oldest stories are often the quietest. And whenever I feel small or lost, I think of Grandpa Lester and that ancient golden eye blinking open. I remember that we are all just visitors here, sharing this beautiful, wild world. And the most important thing we can do is to walk softly and show respect. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe for more Tales from the Heart. See you next time.